socially distance here.
The standard
and messed up.
Bottom line is we're just getting started.
Time to chase it.
The ball came out. Oregon's got
good.
it. Pitcher's going to go to the house.
With the ball, get it upfield, and he's going to score.
Kick is up on the way. It's gone. Camden Lewis.
I can win a ball game for you.
The DNA and their competitive character is something really, really special.
Are you kidding me? Touchdown, C.J. Verdell.
Football means a lot here. We want to turn up right away. We don't waste an opportunity.
This is the Oregon Football Coaches Show, presented by Carl's Jr. on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. Visit your locally family-owned and operated Carl's Jr. today. Carl's Jr. Feed your happy. Tonight's show is also brought to you by Pepsi and Bigfoot Beverages. Go Ducks. Drink Pepsi. And by Country Financial. Protect what matters. From the Country Financial Studios alongside Mike Jorgensen and Joey Mac, here's the voice of the Ducks, Jerry Allen.
Thank you, and happy Veterans Day to you and to everybody, as that is far more important than anything else we're going to talk about tonight, Veterans Day. It's a special day that I hope never, ever gets lost or forgotten by. As young people grow up, it kind of, the wars get further behind, but Veterans Day we should always remember and recognize.
Can't say thank you enough.
No, you just
never.
Never.
All
right. Welcome to our Country Financial Studios. I'm Jerry Allen. Jorgie is here, and we have a treat tonight. Defensive coordinator Andy Avalos is going to be our guest tonight. And against a team in Washington State this week that throws the ball and runs the ball. It's an interesting offense. We'll talk with him about that, how to defend that. Big W, 35-14. Balanced offense, Jorge. I think that's one of the biggest things that I noticed when I started looking at the stats in that game. Oregon's offense was very balanced.
Yeah, I mean, the ability to run the ball obviously gives you the opportunity to throw the ball, and vice versa, and they did both very, very well, and just stayed with it. It wasn't necessarily the fastest start in the world. You're not going to get a fast start every single game, but they stayed with it, began to kind of wear Stanford down at the line of scrimmage, and what a performance by that offensive line, let alone Tyler Shuck and everybody else, but nobody knew what to expect, and what a performance they put on, and did a great job.
No, they really did. How about 9 of 11 in third down conversions?
Well, I don't see that very often.
9 of 11. Tyler Shuck was something else. And what a surprise. DJ Johnson, where did he come from? Oh, that's right, the defense. He's on the offensive side now. I think looking at his body, he can play wherever he wants to play.
Yeah.
And he'd be good at it.
Be interesting to ask Coach Avalos if he's trying to get him back. He might be trying to get him back on the other side. So
defense only gave up one explosion run. That was in the fourth quarter, 73-yarder. I thought the defense played really, really well. They, even after a couple of turnovers, didn't give up any scores, missed field goals, but they didn't allow them into the end zone. Next up, Washington State, 4-10 in the Palouse.
And it could be a little white, maybe? A little
yeah,
cold?
I don't know.
We'll see.
They're younger
Whatever.
and tougher than we are.
They'll love it.
Yeah, they definitely will. Look, let's get a break, and we'll come out and get our coach on and talk with Andy Avalos, our defensive coordinator, about the game coming up. Maybe a little look back at what they did against Stanford and some of the guys that did that. It's the Carl's Jr., Oregon Football Coaches Show. Thanks to Carl's for being a part of this from our Country Financial Studios. We're going to go away and come right back on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
This is Happy from Carl's Jr. Listen closely. Do you hear that? That's the sizzling sound of 2 1/3-pound juicy Angus beef patties stacked with 4 strips of bacon on the Monster Angus Thick Burger. You're getting hungry for the bacon. You're driving to the Angus beef. But wait, don't take your eyes off the road for the monster. When I snap my star fingers, you'll pull into the nearest Carl's Jr. and order the new Monster Angus Thick Burger. Feed your happy.
We are
available for limited time at participating restaurants. Price and participation may vary.
Make a trip to the epicenter of Oregon wine country and visit Elizabeth Chambers Cellar. Our wines are crafted authentically in an old world style in one of McMinnville's most historic working wineries. Let our staff lead you through a tasting of highly rated wines. Our newly renovated tasting room is chic and urban. It's no wonder people are talking about Elizabeth Chambers Cellar, now offering private seated tastings. Call us to find out more information or to make your reservation today. Elizabeth Chambers Cellar is open daily from 11 to 5. Find us online at elizabethchamberscellar.com.
What's it like to grow with the O? At OCCU, we support Duck fans each step of the way by educating our youth with Lucky Duck Savings. celebrating independence with Duck Debit Checking, and rewarding members with the Duck Credit Card. That's how Duck fans grow with OCCU. Learn how you can too at myoccu.org/ducks.
More Jerry, Jorgie, and Joey after this timeout. This is Ducks football from Learfield IMG College.
Everybody buckle up. Mom. Buckle up.
Let's go.
Buckle up.
Can we go to the store? Mom,
buckle
can we get
up.
some ice cream?
Everybody, buckle up.
A lot goes on in the car, but you're in control. So only move when you hear the click that says they're buckled in. Never give up until they buckle up. Learn more at safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school, so I'm trying to break that barrier.
My daughter Brooklyn was also a motivation for me to go back to school.
Every day after work, went straight to school, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Welcome back inside our Country Financial Studios. This is Carl's Jr. Football Coach's Show, and that means we got a football coach, and I'm anxious to talk to him. Let me start by saying in his first season as Oregon's D coordinator, Oregon improved in nearly every defensive category. They win the Pac-12. They go to the Rose Bowl. They beat Wisconsin. It had to be satisfying. Please welcome Andy Avalos, defensive coordinator for your Ducks, joins us on the show tonight. Coach, thanks for being with us for a while.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. And just like you guys were talking about, I want to say thanks to all the veterans out there for everything they've done for our country. Happy Veterans Day. And again, thanks for having me on tonight.
Coach, we're going to look forward, obviously, at the game coming up, maybe a little bit at Stanford. But I'm going to go back to last year a little bit. You led the Pac-12 in sacks, tackles for loss, interceptions, all improvements over 2018. Your defense last year, in a very short period of time, just huge jumps in gains. When you look back after the season, what was it about those guys? What was it about that year that allowed them and you to make such a big jump?
They were determined to keep growing. They cared a lot. Their care factor was really high, in terms of accomplishing certain goals and growing forward as a program and building our mentality and our culture here. And, much of the same things we're doing right now. It's every year is a new year. And it's obviously a different team. And so the chemistry of the team has always got to be built. And so we work hard every day to do that with our 1-0 process.
Well, Coach, a great start to the season. Obviously, the 1-0 you just talked about with Stanford and against a stubborn, well-coached Stanford team. We get a chance to hear you and Coach Moorhead and Coach Cristobal talk about your thoughts on the game. How do you feel your defense felt about their performance on Saturday?
That we're excited, number one, to be back on the field. We hadn't played football in a long, long time. So to be able to see them in the locker room, the joy, how excited they were about having the opportunity to play the game they love and do it together. And they're ready to play some more. They, after the game, they were that excited about it. And obviously there's plenty of things that we've got to grow forward from, being that it was the first time that we played football in a long time. And, we're excited to do that.
Coach, there are a lot of guys that I could name, and you could spend a lot of time talking about everybody too. Kayvon Thibodeau, Verone McKinley, Jordan Scott. We could go on with the guys that had the experience that came back for you. Could you talk about maybe a few of the newer guys, freshmen and redshirt freshmen, that are stepping into roles and filling some of those holes that, guys left in graduation or left early?
Yes. So definitely, you can start up front. First off, our seniors and upperclassmen and guys that have experience coming back from last year, obviously those are the guys that we are leaning on to grow forward. And obviously some of the more difficult circumstances that we face, we all have to lead ourselves through it. Every day there's challenges, new challenges every day, and just attacking that with a positive mindset so that we can all grow forward, but especially the young players that you're talking about, up front. Dorless played last year, but he obviously played a ton the other night and played really well, as well as Christian Williams. Christian Williams has a bright future as well. And those are two guys up front on the D-line that did a great job. Braden Swinson jumped in there and got some snaps at the end too as a true freshman. So we're excited about those guys continuing to grow. And obviously at the linebacker level, Noah jumped on the scene pretty quick with some explosive plays and some physicality. And, then in the secondary, Jamal Hill's stepping up and playing our nickel position and doing a really good job and learning every day. And we're excited, about the direction he's going. And then obviously right on the outside, he played some last year and he was in a role position, but now to be the guy and all that stuff, it's a hard position to play out there on the outside. And we felt like he did a good job, especially down in the red zone last week. He battled against some very tall wide receivers, and in which their game plan was to run to the pylons and play basketball, those jump balls out there. And he did a really good job battling down there.
Coach, just early in the season, you get a chance to play a lot of guys in a lot of different combinations. Are you looking for combinations this early in the season, or was it just a matter of there were that many guys ready to play in a game like this?
Well, we're always trying to build the depth as deep as we can possibly get it. And the guys will say, too, they start laughing. We don't just talk about depth. We talk about dependable depth. And playing against a team like Stanford last week with multiple personnel sets, almost about every personnel set you can get, or personnel group, I should say, that you can get, we had to have a lot of things ready in the first game. And so that being said, to be able to get guys in different roles and not put too much on certain individuals' plate, it provides the opportunity for a lot of guys to gain roles so long as, they're accountable with those roles.
Coach, some of those roles include leadership, and I look at a defense, and you see the defensive line and the linebackers, and then the back level and the corners and the safeties. Do you have multiple, so to say, quarterbacks on a defense, or is it usually the safety that is your guy on the defense?
The safeties and the linebackers. The safeties and the linebackers have to work together, and the safeties are the quarterbacks of the secondary, and they set the coverages that the linebackers and everybody else plays, obviously, and so. It's a tremendous amount of work to get ready every week for those guys, much like a quarterback, and they don't touch the ball every play like the quarterback, but that's the mentality that we tried to build at those positions, the linebacker position as well. And we take that approach, and it takes great preparation. We talk about all the time, the separations and the preparation, and that's why we got to have that 1-0 process every day.
Coach, I've heard you talk this week a little bit about Andrew Avalos and how hard he's worked to become a key part of special packages that you bring in and that type of deal. Talk a little bit about him, if you would, and what has changed for him from last year to this year to get him to this point?
Well, his body needed to change, going from playing D tackle to playing on the edge. And he did an unbelievable job, even through the quarantine, all the way back to the months of May. And obviously when we got back on campus, and just his ability not only to change his body, but his ability to grow and learn a position that, he has not played. He's not played off the ball, and through the course of the last 3 weeks, especially, you can really see the difference in his mobility and his comfortability and playing off the ball. And so, again, it provides an opportunity for us to have more depth at that position. And obviously we just got to keep growing.
Our guest on the University of Oregon Alumni Association guest line, I should say, is defensive coordinator Andy Avalos. Coach, quick question about an adjustment just prior to a game and then during a game. Defensively, you prepare against Stanford for a quarterback, what he does, how he does it, and what they may do offensively in schemes. When you get at the very last minute a change, does it change what you want to do? Is that a tough adjustment to make?
It doesn't necessarily change a lot. You have an idea of, okay, maybe this guy didn't get as many reps at this or that, but ultimately they have to run their plan and they have to still be able to execute with what they plan going in. And, going into the first game of the season, as we spoke about leading up to it, there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of time off. There's going to be some new things. There's a lot of game planning. And we saw a lot of things the other night, a lot of things that we needed to see, and we had to make adjustments within the game to handle some of those things. and the guys and the coaches and the players, from the box down to the sideline and operating, there was the whiteboard was working early on in that game, as in many games, but especially the first game of the year.
We're going to take a quick break here, Coach. If you stand by with us again on our University of Oregon Alumni Association guest line, Andy Avalos, defensive coordinator for the Ducks in the Country Financial Studios. It's all brought to you by Carl's Jr., the new Monster Angus Thick Burger. Carl's Jr. is tempting you with sizzling bacon and 2 third-pound Angus beef patties. Give in, get in, and try one today. Can think of a defensive line that probably each have about 5 or 6 of those. Let's go away, come back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Experience the most mind-bending thriller of the year. Available at Redbox. From the producers of Get Out and Us, Rent, Antebellum. Starring Janelle Monáe. Successful author Veronica Henley finds herself trapped in a horrifying reality that forces her to confront the past, present, and future before it's too late. Don't miss Antebellum, along with other new movies, and make it a Redbox night. Head to one of the 40,000 Redbox locations, stream on your smart TV, or visit redbox.com for all the ways to watch.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
This is the Oregon Football Coaches Show, presented by Carl's Jr. on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You aced vehicle history searches and test drives. You out-salesmaned the salesman. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll have the info you need to get more for your future. Go to aceyourretirement.org, because when it comes to speeding past financial challenges, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome back inside our Country Financial Studio. Jerry Allen with Jorgie, and our guest on our University of Oregon Alumni Association guest line is defensive coordinator Andy Avalos. Coach, new game, week 2, Washington State, different offense, and not the air raid anymore. I'm going to probably steal one of Jorgie's questions, but run and shoot or air raid, what's the difference? Aren't they both kind of passing offenses?
Well, they're pretty balanced in the run. They'll run the ball now. They always try to establish the run. There's a big difference. It's very complicated, but there is a big difference. From the outsider looking in, you see spread offense, no tight ends in the game, 4 wides and all that. But underneath the surface, there's a difference in some of the concepts we got to face, both in the run game and in the pass game, and how the whole operation works. So it's new for us to go against this type of offense here. So, just obviously in the preseason game planning and scouting and all those things, we had to do a really diligent job in trying to understand this offense. And obviously they've been very successful. Rollo's, been running this offense for a long time now, and they do a really good job.
Coach, this isn't the first time for you, though, as a coach, coaching against this run and shoot, coaching against Coach Rolovich, even seeing Delora, the quarterback. I mean, you've seen them, you've coached against them, and yet how do you scout with one game under their belt, at least this year so far?
Right. There's no doubt. I mean, you just have to look back into the past and, get as much film as you can to study and even given the time frame and what the preparation's been like this year, with all the limited practice and things like that. There's a lot of unknowns. That's what this year has been about. And so we've really focused a lot here, obviously at Oregon on what we do know and what we can control. And that's, our habits every day of how we play the game, how we operate. We've got to improve that from the first game, and how we grow forward into the next game and how we're playing fundamentally and technically and growing with our eye discipline. That's one thing that we've harped on, and we're trying to make a big jump going into this next game.
Coach, as a defensive coordinator, you have to appreciate, in fact, all coaches, that you're going to go play on the road against a team that has no fans in the stands, much like it was last week for Stanford. Is there an advantage for you and your team to not have that distraction or that noise and everything going on?
For us, it's loud. Here at home, it's loud. And so that's kind of something that we're always used to. Not having that noise is almost that's very different for us. So, that being said, when you go on the road, obviously the home team's offense is on the field, so it's not typically as loud, but having nobody in the stands was a little bit different. For me I'm down there for pregame warmups and then I go into the box, but it was different for the team. And again, there's a lot of things that are different this year that we've got to learn to adapt, and overcome, and so we can succeed. And so that is definitely one of them is playing in the atmosphere and the environment. And like they always say, you got to practice like you want to play. The environment, there's no fans at practice and there's no fans at the games, and we've got to create our own energy. We got to create our mindset every time. We have to have our mindset ready to go, just like we do in practice. We've got to have our mindset ready to go regardless of where we're playing and who's there or who's not.
You had to pivot. Jerry mentioned it. You had to pivot a little bit in relation to no Davis Mills. Jack West ends up being the starter for Stanford. And then you face Delora, who's a different type of quarterback than those two guys. I mean, still can throw it around like both of those guys can, but a little smaller, a little bit more mobile. How do you – not that you want to give away game plan. It's not what this is about, but do you attack a guy like that?
I appreciate that because I get a lot of questions like, I wish I could answer your question. The other teams work for him, so I appreciate you being understanding to that.
That's right. I mean, he's an athlete. He's a really good athlete, as most quarterbacks are, but he is a guy who's very mobile, can keep it, can run it, can continue plays and stretch him out and that type of deal. It's tough to attack a guy like that, isn't it?
There's no question, and that's where it takes a lot of discipline, within our responsibilities and making sure that we're handling our assignments and not trying to do somebody else's, and that we got to win our one-on-ones in front of us, whether that's defeating a block in front of us, whether that's being in a certain gap, whether that's covering a certain man or being in a certain zone. We've got to be able to do those things consistently, week in and week out. But even more so when you have a running quarterback, you have to make sure that you're leveraging everything properly.
Coach, it's not been a regular fall. You haven't had the number of practices you'd like to, even in that spring. My question is going to be about depth. Have you had enough time to see the guys and understand and feel that you've got the depth that you need on that defensive side, or is that still something very much in development?
For us, I mean, it doesn't seem this way, but here we are in November in the season. We're in our second game. So as we're growing, we're growing. We're gonna grow all the way through this each day, each week. And so, that's something that's constant. We got more young guys. We got even some more veterans that we're trying to grow forward so that they can create bigger roles for themselves. But we feel good about the depth we have right now, but you can never have enough.
Got some great matchups, Coach, this week, and in relation to the receivers that you're going to face with some really good DBs. I look at Thibodeau maybe against Abraham Lucas, a long-armed giant, 6'7", 330 pounds. These guys love this challenge, don't they, of going up against those type of receivers, offensive linemen, whatever it might be. They really enjoy the challenge.
Yes, sir. I mean, week in and week out, every day at practice, it's a challenge. Every day at practice, you got to come to compete. and iron sharpens iron, and we're gonna compete up front. We're gonna compete in the secondary, and that's really what it's all about. And obviously, you get the opportunity to go play games on game day. The habits that you create during the week is usually what shows up. So not only is it exciting to be able to do that on game day, but we've got to be able to do that every day at practice as well.
Final question for you, Coach. We go back to spring, and all of a sudden everything came to a halt. Then you go through weeks and months of maybe starting, maybe not, maybe canceling everything, and it was up in the air. All this time trying to hold the guys together, trying to teach them. To the point that you've gotten right now, how encouraging is it to have a family, which is your defense, come through what they've come through and be as prepared as they are? That's got to be pretty special, isn't it?
There's no question, and we've told them, and the standard's really high, and they'll tell you we press on it every single day. We press on it every single day, starting from the top. Coach Cristobal, our standard is very high here, and the mentality we want to operate with every single day. But we are proud of them because it's been a challenging year. We've been trying through everything. The message was always, from coaches, we all have to stay ready. We all have to stay mentally, we got to keep ourselves mentally in the right position, and we have to stay ready physically and mentally. And so to be at the point and have the opportunities we have right now to practice, to play this game, to be around each other, because there was for a long time there, we weren't even able to be around each other. So when it gets hard, when it gets cold, when things are going tough, we got to be grateful for, the things that we do have. And we're very proud of our players for how they've responded, and we're going to have to keep responding.
Well, obviously grateful to you and the rest of the staff and the team for fighting through it all. No doubt about it. He is Andy Avalos, defensive coordinator. Coach, thanks for sharing a little time with us tonight. Have fun this weekend. Dress warm, okay?
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Andy Avalos on our University of Oregon Alumni Association guest live. We are in the Country Financial Studios, and the Coaches Show brought to you by, Carl's Jr. My mouth waters.
I'm full after the last time you read that. Okay.
Let's get out of here. We'll come back. Joey Mac, our Pepsi Player Spotlight, is up next. He's got Didi. I just still can't used to calling Deommodore Lenoir. We'll talk about that when we come right back on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
This is Happy from Carl's Jr. Listen closely. Do you hear that? That's the sizzling sound of 2 1/3-pound juicy Angus beef patties stacked with 4 strips of bacon on the Monster Angus Thick Burger. You're getting hungry for the bacon. You're driving to the Angus beef. But wait, don't take your eyes off the road for the monster. When I snap my star fingers, you'll pull into the nearest Carl's Jr. and order the new Monster Angus Thick Burger. Feed your happy.
Available for limited time at participating restaurants. Price and participation may vary.
When did business insurance become one size fits all? At EMC Insurance Companies, we've known for more than 100 years that businesses have unique needs. It's why from coast to coast, we provide insurance packages that are designed and tailored specifically for nearly 500 different types of businesses. Add our expert loss control and quick claim services, and you can see why customers count on EMC to help protect what they've built. Find an EMC agent near you at emcins.com.
Ninkasi Brewing is proud to be an official partner of the Oregon Radio Network. Independently owned and brewed in Eugene since 2006, Ninkasi is thrilled to launch Steady Orbit Grounded IPA, a better beer for you. Featuring a bright tropical and citrus flavor, Steady Orbit keeps you grounded at 4.5% alcohol by volume, while delivering that IPA flavor you know and love. Find it on shelves now. More information at ninkasibrewing.com.
You're listening to the Oregon Football Coaches Show, presented by Carl's Jr. on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
GTG, BRB, OMW, be there in a few. You may think that these kinds of texts are fine because of their length, and you can easily send them at a stoplight. But no, answering one text can take your attention away from the road for 5 seconds. And traveling at 55 miles an hour, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Make good decisions, don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone, let's all stop what we're doing and take a moment. You see? Every moment can be kind of special. But they can be loud moments, goofy moments, dorky moments, it doesn't matter. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Welcome back inside our Country Financial Studios. I'm Jerry Allen with Jorgie, Carl's Jr. Football Coaches Show. Washington State this week, 4:10. We're on the air at 2 o'clock with our pregame show. And one of the guys that we'll be talking about during that pregame, we're going to get a chance to meet right now with Joey Mac. He is up with our Pepsi Player Spotlight and Deommodore Lenoir.
Today we're going to be talking with a guy who I will introduce as the model of consistency. And first, we have to settle something. 28 consecutive starts at the cornerback position. That's tough. That's tough to do, and we're going to talk with Deommodore Lenoir coming up here. All right, first of all, I have to ask, and let's just start here, okay? How many times in your life has your name been mispronounced?
I would say probably 1,000,000 times. Like, people have gotten better. I think it's because I'm starting to get a little bit more exposure, but like when I first, like even with high school, like when I first started getting recruited, everyone mispronounced it. Like nobody couldn't pronounce my name.
What's the weirdest pronunciation you've heard in your life?
Deommodore.
That's the weirdest?
Yeah, with an A.
Ah.
Yeah, I was like, I don't see where you got the A.
I got you. All right, so that's why we're going with Dede now. I know you said to the media, right, that it's just a little bit easier for everybody to say, and that's what people have called you over the years?
Yeah.
All right, I'll take it. I also have to then ask you because, as we know, Thomas Graham has called you Mr. Bump and Run, and as your Twitter reflects, who was the first person to ever call you Mr. Bump and Run?
I think it was myself.
Really?
Yeah, I would have to say myself because I seen like I was pretty good at press coverage. So then the word for press coverage is like bump and run, So I just started calling myself that. Then everybody just picked up the train and followed along.
All right, so we now have 3 different names that we can use to describe you, and I can tell you that on the broadcast that we do on the radio side, we've done that. So we appreciate somebody like you who gives us multiple different descriptions, Dede. So thank you for doing so. All right, I need to properly introduce you now. Deommodore Lenoir joining us, wearing number 0 this year. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Cornerback out of Los Angeles, California, senior. Let's start with just this season so far, Dede. Obviously, things have been a little bit different. Take fans inside practice, and are things really that different for you guys when it actually comes to football these days?
Yeah, I mean it get more serious, in the games, and then just excitement. I mean, from this past game, I just had a lot of excitement that I wanted to let out. Just been holding it over quarantine. So it was just all the excitement. I was just excited to play really, and just being able to play with my brothers. Just being able to see them happy, and as well as get happy myself. So it was just a fun experience.
How'd you guys feel you did after game 1 and you reviewed the film?
We played pretty good, but it was still minor mistakes that we had to get back to the drawing board and fix. But we wasn't really worried about the mistakes after the game because we had so much fun. So it was like, we'll correct it later, but right now this is our moment because, we ain't played football in 311 days.
Right. 311 days. I mean, I know we were talking about that too heading into the game. That's just crazy. I mean, have you ever gone that long without playing a football game in your life before?
I don't think I even, with just this whole little situation, the coronavirus, I don't think I've been away from football that long. That was different.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Everything's a little bit different in the year 2020. All right, I'm curious, how odd was it to not have the Autzen faithful cheering for you guys there? Was that a big adjustment for you and the team?
It was a huge adjustment, because, we live off the fans, just every time we make a play and that third down, you know, that's where it gets the loudest. So we had to create our own juice, you know. So creating our own juice, it just helped us like get back to who we are when we do make plays.
I know you talked a little bit about this with the media, and you've been asked this. Your decision to come back and play this season, what went into that?
It was a lot to do with the players, I would say, because like I said, I was watching LSU and Mississippi State when I think it was their first game, and I was just sitting there and then I just started thinking about, you know, the team, and like if we get an opportunity, then I would go back. That's all that was going in my head. But of course, I had like different decisions and different thoughts on the situation. But I was just like miss being with the players.
I get that. There's a certain brotherhood to this, isn't there, Dede? I mean, this really ends up being a family by the time you guys go through war together, doesn't it?
Yeah, because you know your friends, that's your friends in college are gonna be your friends for life.
I can speak to that. Almost all of the groomsmen in my wedding, Dede, were my college friends. So you're dead on there. All right, I'm going to go a little bit general with you, and I asked some of these questions, you know, knowing that we might get a fun answer. So just bear with me, all right? So last year, Shane Lemieux famously wanted me to ask him the question, who is Shane Lemieux? And the best answers on the Coaches Show we've been getting are when I ask that question. So I'm going to ask you. How do you describe yourself? Who is Dede Lenoir?
A very energetic person, I would say. You know, a lot of people see me there and they think that I'm quiet, but I don't think that I'm quiet. And on the field, especially, I'm not quiet at all.
He is not quiet on the field. There's no doubt about that. That's Dede Lenoir. We're going to hear more with him and Joey Mac coming up on the Pepsi Player Spotlight. It's the Carl's Jr. Oregon Football Coaches Show in our Country Financial Studios. We'll go away, come right back, and get some more of Dede and the not-so-quiet Lenoir on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Experience the most mind-bending thriller of the year. Available at Redbox. From the producers of Get Out and Us, Rent Antebellum, starring Janelle Monáe. Successful author Veronica Henley finds herself trapped in a horrifying reality that forces her to confront the past, present, and future before it's too late. Don't miss Antebellum, along with other new movies, and make it a Redbox night. Head to one of the 40,000 Redbox locations, stream on your smart TV, or visit redbox.com for all the ways to watch. You're listening to the Oregon Football Coaches Show. Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Hello, it's me, the designer jeans in the back of your closet. What happened to us? I used to summer in the Hamptons, and now I'm stuck behind a pair of sweats. Okay, maybe I never really fit you right, but I got a lot more Sunday fun days left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Okay, forest animals, kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow, have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. River, how's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man.
I love it. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. Okay. Squirrel.
The forest has been preparing just for you. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Welcome back, Jerry Allen and Jorgie from our Country Financial Studios. It's Coach's Show. It's brought to you always by Carl's Jr. Just got to not think about that burger and the bacon. Okay, let's get to Dairy Mart then. The Oregon Football Coaches Show also brought to you by Dairy Mart and Lockmead Family, the local stop for fresh to-go lunch, thirst-quenching drinks, and award-winning ice cream. Go Ducks. Why is everything we do around food? It's not a bad thing. Let's go back and see what Joey Mac's got from Deommodore Lenoir.
I have to ask you, Didi. Look, I'm usually on the sidelines, and so I hear what's going on. You know, who's the best trash talker on the team?
Right now, I would say I'm top 3.
All right.
Nick is one for sure. One. And then 2, I would have to go Verone, because Verone, he will say stuff in a smart way, and it'll just get under your skin. He knows how to do. He does that very well.
So, Didi, I have to say, I mean, I'm seeing a pattern here with it being Nick Pickett, Verone McKinley, yourself. It's almost like maybe guys in the secondary have a certain ability for trash talking.
Oh, yeah. See, so we watch a lot of battle raps. So we just take all the lingo that we hear in the battle raps and then we put it in the football.
I love it. I love it. Are you guys the best, I guess, talking your game, if you will, in the conference, you think?
Yes.
All right. That's what I like to hear. I think everybody's going to like to hear that. Deommodore Lenoir, I guess. Okay. You know, heading into this year, I thought this was just a tremendous statistic. And I don't know how much you're looking at this kind of stuff, Didi, but I'm going to take a moment and brag about you because that's what I do, right? I mean, I'm just going to talk about how awesome the Ducks are. You only missed 3 tackles in 137 opportunities, according to Pro Football Focus. That's unique. That's rare. What led to that success? You're smiling right now. This is a good thing.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I would have to give it up to Coach Hayward, Coach Bobby Williams. You know, they every morning that long stride, short stride drill that we do, and you know, I just have to give it up to them.
What makes a good cornerback?
I would say instincts, feet, and ball skills.
It sounds like you could be a coach.
I think I could. Actually, I could.
See? I'm telling you, you sounded exactly like a coach with just how fast you went right to this is what it takes. So I'm just telling you, when you're done, you could have a future here.
Yeah, I had a little vision of Coach Chance when I said that.
All right, tell us about Coach Chance. I mean, I know you guys have known him. Just tell fans about what it's like playing for Coach Chance.
He is a technician. I would say a technician. You know, he's on every little small detail. You know, it's about the little things. So that's what we all really learn as a collective unit, that it's about the little things, and the little things can get you from a PBU to an interception.
You guys, I know, have goals of winning a Pac-12 championship, winning a national championship. Do you have individual goals for yourself this year, Didi?
Being a leader. That's my goal. That's my only goal. Just lead Mikael, DJ James, Triquez, Jordan Ademi-John, and Dante Manning, just leading them, just showing them when I leave that this is how it's supposed to be done.
I love that. There's a certain culture around this football program, and I think everybody listening can hear that with Didi here. Take us back in time, if you could, Didi, to like 17-year-old you. Why'd you pick Oregon?
Oh, this was my dream school. I've been knowing I was going to Oregon since I was freshman year. Like, that was the only school that I wanted to go to.
Why? I mean, what about it?
Because of DeAnthony Thomas. You know, I used to watch him, so I used to think like I was him in high school. So everything he did, I did too. So I was like, that was just like a role model, and I just wanted to come to Oregon because of him.
You know, you're not the only student athlete who said that, Didi, and I'm really curious just to dive in on that a little bit. I mean, coming from Los Angeles, was that really for you, your friends at the time, just the big moment? Like, I feel like that was like a transcendent moment in Oregon football history when DeAnthony Thomas committed here.
Yeah, that was big, especially for Los Angeles, California itself. You know, just seeing someone able to take their talents to the next level and be good at it, it was just like it was electrifying.
Advice for yourself. I like to ask this question. What advice would you give to 16, 17, 18-year-old Deommodore Lenoir if you could today?
I would tell myself to slow down. You know, I had this talk with some of the DBs a while ago, you know, because everybody, when you come in, you want to play. But, I mean, of course you think you're ready, but in reality, you haven't really fully developed as far as the other athletes that's older than you that you're playing against. You know, so I'll tell myself to slow down and just soak up the knowledge.
I see on your mask that it says end racism, Dede, and I know that you made the change to the number 0 with everything that's going on in the world. I was hoping you could talk a little bit about that and why it's so important to you.
Well, the decision became it took place when I was looking at a story on Elijah McClain, and then the number 0 came out. They was letting us wear 0 in college, so I just took it as 0 tolerance to racism.
I think I'll say this, and I think a lot of people will agree with me, Dede. You're leading in more ways than one, and I think a lot of Duck fans will appreciate it. Before I let you go, I got to ask you a little bit about Washington State. Some keys to victory for you guys defensively against this run-and-shoot offense.
Well, we're going to come up with a good game plan. You know, I think Coach Avalos has a great game plan, and just eye control, discipline, and toughness. You know, it takes a lot of toughness to go up to Pullman and get a W.
Deommodore Lenoir, hey, I got to tell you, thanks for doing this. Thanks for being a Duck. I know that your schedule is busy and crazy, and everything in 2020 is wild right now. So I really appreciate you taking the time. Come on the show, let fans get to know you a little bit. I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
Special young man, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the things he said, Jorgie. Our Pepsi Player Spotlight brought to you by Pepsi, locally owned Bigfoot Beverages. Go Ducks, drink Pepsi here in our Country Financial Studios. Thanks to Carl's Jr. again for being a part of the show this year. It was interesting to hear a young man with that kind of talent say that somebody who went to Oregon when he was a freshman in high school impacted his decision to come to Oregon. We knew that's what DeAnthony Thomas was, and we got a chance to see him. But I guess we're so distanced from cities like L.A. and San Francisco and the rest of the nation, we don't realize how impactful that was on other young men.
I mean, you really think about it, Jerry. I mean, when DeAnthony was playing here, a lot of these guys were young kids. I mean, you know, 10, 11, 12, 13, he maybe said he was a freshman type of situation, but the impressions that a guy like DeAnthony Thomas and the speed and explosiveness and exciting way that he played, we loved it. Man, it was nuts the way that he played and the way that team played and that type of deal. And so I could see why it would have an impact like on somebody like Dede and others in L.A. And frankly, again, it was that way across the country. It was unbelievable, the impact that DeAnthony Thomas and this Oregon football program had on a lot of student athletes out there that eventually would come to be, you know, tremendous players like Deommodore Lenoir.
I know we've had a number of football players and other athletes go on to the next level professionally. You know, I think of Chris Miller, I think of Dan Fouts and others. But Oregon has sort of become one of those handful of schools in the nation. We used to think of the USCs and Washington and you know, Ohio State, other schools where if I want to get to the NFL, that's where I got to go. Oregon is one of those schools now. Mm-hmm. Isn't that amazing?
Well, what's neat about it too is that they've kept it going. I mean, when you really think about the jump on the scene in the late 2008, 2009, 2010, the undefeated season, playing in a national championship game against Auburn, Chip Kelly's offenses just being a blur and crazy and scoring points and everything else that went with it. You know, what my worry was, and I can't say I ever worried about it, but I always thought, okay, how long can this last? Well, it just continues on. Mario Cristobal and his staff and what they've done to keep this brand identity and this style of football and this quality of football, and obviously the culture is amazing that he and his staff have set here and that type of deal. So to see it continue on like it has, to me, has been the most impressive part of it.
I can remember in 1995 at the Rose Bowl thinking, wow, doesn't get any better than this. We had no
That's right.
idea.
No idea.
No idea. None at all. All right, Washington State this weekend. What concerns you about the Cougars as Ducks get ready to go to Pullman?
Well, I just think their ability to the run-pass option that we haven't seen for a long time there at Washington State. It was pretty much pass, and then every once in a while they'd fool you with the run. And now it's the run-pass option that Delora can bring as a quarterback, that the receivers and a tremendous group of receivers, the running back group, a pretty good offensive line. I think Oregon can get after them offensively against the Washington State defense, but frankly, it's that offense and a true freshman. I never thought I would say that about a true freshman, but man, he looked good last week, and Washington State looked good, and I think they're going to be fun to watch. But that's what really kind of worries me a little bit, is a group of receivers, and once they get it going, if they get it going, they don't have a home field crowd to be able to feed off of. I think that's an advantage for Oregon right there.
But they're going to have the weather to help them out.
Yeah, I'll tell you
though.
Both
teams have to deal with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Oregon's going to be just fine with that. I really do. They're both going to have played in it a little bit. Those guys obviously seat up there a little bit more, but this is the first really bad stretch of weather they've had. So I wouldn't think that Delora saw a whole lot of snow in Hawaii. So, we'll see how he handles this particular game, right?
That's a great point. Never thought about that. All right, the Carl's Jr. Oregon Football Coaches Show. That's it for our second show of the year. We're back again next Wednesday to do it again. Now, we're going to be, as a broadcast team, here in Eugene, so we'll explain that a little bit more on Saturday, but this can be a different experience for us. I hope you'll enjoy it while the football team's in Pullman taking on the Cougars. Thanks to Joey Mac for a great interview with Deommodore Lenoir. Thanks to our Country Financial Studios for letting us sit in here every Wednesday night and do this, and obviously thanks to defensive coordinator Andy Avalos for being our guest here tonight. It's fun getting into maybe the mind of a coordinator. He didn't give us a whole lot. He didn't want to give away the game plan. I don't get it. I don't understand that.
That's a good thing.
Okay, we're back. Scotty Phillips, thanks for your job, Mitch. Hey, enjoy what's left of the week, and we'll talk to you on Saturday at 2 in the afternoon. Bye-bye. God bless.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light,